This is Matt Nordgren, and we are on the Matt Balaker podcast.
Hello, fine people out there. Thank you for tuning into the Matt Balaker podcast. Please do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share with at least 7 to 14 people you haven't spoken with in the last year. I think it'll make you feel better and it'll make them feel good as well. Well, I don't always say this, but if you're listening to this in your car, please also watch the video online because today's guest is maybe the most well-dressed person I've ever met. He's a philanthropist, a national champion football player, a former member of Bravo TV's Most Eligible Dallas, and founder of Arcadian Capital Management. Please welcome Matt Nordgren to the program. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, good, Matt. Nice to be here.
Well, nice to have you. And, this is particularly exciting because you were part of the most riveting Rose Bowl, I'm going to say maybe even football game I've ever seen in my life. And this is the national champion Texas Longhorns. Was this 2005, Matt?
Yep, 2005, 2006 season.
So for those who don't remember, this was at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Going into it, it was USC against Texas, and USC was heavily favored. They had Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, at least in Southern California, everyone thought, it would be a victory, but that wasn't the case. What happened, Matt?
Well, I think could have gone either way. Both teams were really good. I think it came down to who had the ball most or last in this case. And it was a beautiful game. I remember it still to this day. And go out there quite frequently, in fact, and revisit those memories. But I think, the teams were evenly matched. One of our philosophies going in was to be humble and to talk about USC as great as they were. We talked about them as if they were the greatest thing of all time, and they really were. And so we just felt like that gave us an advantage to come in as the underdog and not be, too arrogant about what we could achieve. And then no matter what happened, we'd be okay.
Yeah, you didn't give them a lot of bulletin board material, but I want to get your thoughts because you were there when Reggie Bush made that backwards lateral that ended up being a turnover. What was your reaction?
I thought it's a play he makes all the time. It's just something he does. He's a creator out there, and he's been doing things like that for his entire career. And most of the time it works out. So I can see why he attempted it. In this case, it didn't work out so well.
Yeah, well, our guest today was a quarterback. He wasn't Vince Young, but he had a big part of the team. And what was preparation like, not only for that game, but for athletics at that high of a level? Because a lot of our listeners, they weren't the athlete you are, but they might have some challenges ahead of them. What are some takeaways that you can share?
Well, I think it's just there's no secret to success other than just to outwork the other people, and that means putting in the time, the effort. There are plenty of people that I played with who had greater abilities that just didn't have the success. And there were people that had very clear, limitations in terms of their abilities who just worked harder and they ended up having success. So doesn't mean it can't happen both ways, but the one thing for sure is that you just have to be willing to put in the effort to get to where you want to be in life.
So what's the old coach speak? Is it hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard?
Uh-huh.
I think your evidence, and you've had a very successful post-playing career. I had some friends who were athletes, but you've had a very cool kind of unique path. please share with our audience, how your career moved beyond the football field.
Being a backup quarterback, I think, was always interesting because you had to think about life after football anyways. Even though, I was able to play for a very long time, I think I was always thinking about what was next. And serving as a backup quarterback, you really are in a position to sort of see things from a different perspective because you're not always on the field.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, that sort of led me from a young age to be thinking about a business, and particularly as an investor or a service provider, having been in that backup position is really a service providing position. So it taught me a lot. And ever since, I've kind of pursued a career, managing investments for high net worth individuals and wealth advisory and family office type work. So I'm very pleased with what I learned from those days and in the path that has unfolded ever since.
Yeah, it's been a very, very cool unfolding. And Matt, when did you get the investing bug? Like, when did you know this is something you wanted to do?
I think early on. It was because the support that you offer and lend as a teammate in football, I thought that was very well aligned with what you do as an investor. You support, you lend, you add value. You're not necessarily running the company or operating the company, but you're trying to do everything you can to be helpful. And so I think it was just in my DNA from those days.
So it's in your DNA. So as a youngster, did you read the Wall Street Journal? Were your parents in investments? Like what was it like growing up in the Nordgren household?
Oh, Dad was a college and pro football player as well. And he was just a wonderful man, still is. But growing up, he was wonderful. Mom is an angel. I had a brother who was fantastic, and we had a great household. Sports was what kept us all going day in and day out. Family and faith.
Football, family, and faith. I think that's the Texas triumvirate. I like that a lot. Were you a Longhorn fan growing up, or where were your allegiances?
I was a Texas fan. I liked everything about Texas. The state, but in terms of Longhorns, I had not had relatives that attended the university, so I was sort of the first one. But when you're down there, you definitely bleed orange and fall in love with the university.
Oh, it's a great university, great town. But we met in Santa Monica, so obviously, you had love for Texas, but you ended up moving westward. What's the story there, Matt?
Well, the Rose Bowl games were helpful. You come out for those, and they were just such great experiences for us. And the weather out in LA is great. But I split time with Texas and California, always have, and still do to this day.
So you're involved in Arcadian Capital Management. There's a fund related to the firm. And so for listeners who don't know, it's the cannabis adjacent, we'll call it, fund. But can you give more detail than that, please?
Sure. Yeah, we invest in health and wellness businesses. Cannabis is not something we invest in because we can, we need to target businesses that are compliant federally with banking and other initiatives. So some of our companies do provide services to the hemp space or cannabis space or the plant-based alternative medicines or alternative industrial applications. That's really where we focus, is sort of these companies that are enabling health and wellness, and particularly from a natural wellness standpoint. We just believe that movement is continuing to be a consumer trend. And on top of that, it's something that's really good for the world.
Well, it's very good for the world. It seems like, plant-based technology and alternative medicines are taking off. But what motivated you to get into that sector?
Just have always wanted to be in a health and wellness category, and started to understand some of the benefits of getting away from alcohol or tobacco, or some of these medicines that are being prescribed, a tremendous amount of plastic and waste in the environment that can be you have alternative material. So I think, just generally speaking, it was the desire to be involved in something that for the earth, for the human being, for all those that live in it, we could spend our time looking for, investing in, and helping to build companies that are solving those issues.
So you're not only helping the earth, you're helping its inhabitants. So as a fellow earthling, I appreciate that immensely. But it's a difficult area to get into. I mean, a lot of people kind of dream about investment management, but you don't just go on Craigslist and find a job. How did you find this path or create this path?
Well, I got fortunate in my career to work for some really great families, and basically those families taught me a lot in the investment world as I worked my way up, and met partners along the way, and just continued to form new vehicles. And so it's everyone has their own path. I think you just put one foot in front of the other. It doesn't always work out, that's for sure.
No,
you just have to keep going.
You have to stay persistent. And you just mentioned it doesn't always work out. What are some of the more, I guess, painful lessons that you've learned along the way?
Well, corrections like in 2009, 10, 11, the one we're experiencing now, or next year, COVID. These are things that you can't predict, and you just have to try to not be over levered where you can. But also, if you don't have enough portfolio diversification and have a hedge strategy, you can get caught up there as well. So I think the lessons tend to be, big slaps in the face is where you learn the most.
Yeah.
And those are lessons. They're really, when you look back, you're thankful for them. When you're in them, you're not.
Yeah. Well, I think, Matt, some people on the outside, when they look at, I'll call it cannabis type companies or alternative medicine, they think, oh, it's so profitable. It's easy money. What's the reality?
Well, like any business, it's challenging, but it is a growing business. There are a ton of people that are wanting to switch over to healthier alternatives to consumer products of all kinds. And I think just now they're getting to be just as good as a consumer product, but at the same time priced right. And that was the mismatch over the years. So now I think there's a lot of people that want to move into these spaces, and that's what's challenging. There's only so much growth that happens, and there's more than that amount of people that want to be a part of it. But that's all emerging industries. They just figure themselves out.
Yeah, I mean, there's always this kind of expansion and compression. Like, where have you seen like the major peaks and valleys in your sphere? Like, what events have got investors really excited, and what have made them run for the exits?
Well, there's always ups and downs in industry, and the good thing about consumer product industries, when you talk about commodity to consumer space, there's cash flow, there's assets, there's jobs, there's taxes. I think what you're seeing now, a lot of pullback in some of the tech stuff and the crypto stuff. It just is hard to have assets. It's hard to have tangible business that you put your hands on. So I think more than anything, you're going to see people continue to be excited about spaces that are tangible and that have fundamental growth versus the like the Ubers of the world, for example. I think Uber just recently started generating a profit last year or something.
Wow.
And, I just don't see how businesses moving forward can go 10 or 20 years without generating a profit, just continuing to raise money on the future. So I think that's one of the main things we're seeing is the attraction to fundamental, metrics in terms of investing.
So value never goes out of style. I think there's some Warren Buffett influence going on there too. Lots of companies are looking to raise money, and obviously you only have so much to go around. So when you see an opportunity, what are some things that make you more willing to say yes on this one versus, no, thank you?
A lot of the factors on that, Matt. I got to say, it's very particular. It's sort of like the old football days. If you just put a training regimen out for your entire team, you're not going to optimize performance. Everything needs to be viewed as its own opportunity, just like every person needs to be viewed as their own individual. Mm-hmm. And but that being said, we look for growth. We're in growth investing now. We're really not doing a lot of earlier stage stuff, and the people really matter. We invest in people, mm-hmm. and product market fit is really important for us, particularly right now. Then I would say properly valued businesses with independent boards and structures that make sense too. So marked to market, looking at valuations with revenue and comps are really important to be properly valued at this stage.
That makes sense. And I guess what words of wisdom, Matt, do you have for budding entrepreneurs out there?
I think just it's okay to be where you are. You don't have to be anywhere else. Be right where you are, be who you are, value the business based on where you are, and that's okay. You don't have to present or project to be more than where you are.
So not every business has to be the Uber of something. I think that's a good takeaway. What do you know now, Matt, that you wish you knew when you started your investment career?
Oh, that's a good one, Matt. I guess to stick to fundamentals. I keep talking about that, but don't get distracted with shiny objects. Stay focused on fundamentals.
And in Los Angeles, that's hard. A lot of shiny objects come driving by. You're not just an investor. You're also into philanthropy. What's the story there? How'd you get into philanthropy?
Thought it was always important to empower the youth. That's really been my focus over the years. Anything that helps young people find their path, to me, is really the critical way to be philanthropic. And there's lots of great causes out there, but that's always been mine, and I continue to look for that in organizations in Texas and California and other places.
That's wonderful. And how do you create or maintain balance? Because you're a businessman, you have your own life too. You're a philanthropist. Like, how do you kind of juggle it all?
I'm a Libra, and we're supposed to have balance, Matt, but I don't know that it's truly happened. I mean, the truth is, it continues to become unbalanced, and it's a constant rebalancing act.
It's a constant push or pull. And in your role at Arcadian, part of it is you have to be aware of what opportunities are coming your way, but you also have to kind of babysit. That might not be the best word, but communicate with investors. How has sentiment changed over the years, and what skills do you have that makes you good at that job?
I think you just have to communicate. That's the key. Always communicate. We, communicate through multiple formats: newsletters, phone calls, events. We host things. I think you just have to communicate. And as long as you're communicating, things are good and things are bad. They both happen. So that's really the key, is just to be able to be open, honest, transparent, and remember that communication is key.
Communication is key, because I've been on both sides of investments, and when I put money and I don't hear anything, I never assume good news. But even if it's bad, as long as I'm being told, it's a much easier path to walk. So thank you for sharing that. And we've had some favorable news recently. A couple states joined the rec game, where cannabis is recreationally legal in 2 more as of yesterday. But there's also been some headwinds, as there are in any nascent industry. But I'd like to get your take, Matt. In terms of business, what are you most optimistic about going forward?
Well, again, we're not a cannabis firm, so there's some businesses that we invest in that provide some services to those companies. So it's nice to hear that there's continued movement, but a lot of our companies, have nothing to do with that. So there's headwinds and tailwinds in all sectors, and you just have to sort of, just pay really close attention to that. So right now, markets are, readjusting basically, and they should.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of been thinking about that for a while, and but the alternative plastic space, the alternative medicine space, are both thriving. They're cheaper and better for you in the environment. CBD, we have some great CBD type companies that are in 35 or 40,000 retail outlets throughout the country, giving people, relief and great products and creams. And there's just a wide variety of things we're involved with. Telemedicine has been wonderful for us. Health tech, ag tech has been really great for us. So there's headwinds and tailwinds all over the place. But that's just market cycle.
There's always, they go up and down. You mentioned ag tech, and that's a term I've heard more of in the last 4 or 5 months than I have in the last 5 or 6 years. Please share what is ag tech, and what do you hope to achieve through ag tech investments?
Just efficiencies in the agriculture process. There's so many of them, and it's depending on the type of agriculture, it's complex. And so every little thing you can do, from lighting to systems, humidifier control, there's so many variables in complex agriculture. Tomatoes and cannabis and all kinds of complex agriculture. These ag tech companies, if they come in and solve things, can really attribute to the bottom line.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's taking modern technology and applying it to an industry that's existed since time itself. One of the goals for a lot of plant-based and kind of alternative medicine companies is to replace opioids, or just replace certain treatment mechanisms that have pretty horrific side effects. What would you like to see replaced, in the next 5-10 years?
I think the consumer mindset that you have to go buy what's marketed to you. I think what I would like to see replaced is the mindset of a consumer who's able to decipher between things that are good for them and good for the environment.
That's smart. It's a whole change of mindset. So where can people learn more about Arcadian Capital? Where can they learn more about you? To the hundreds of millions of people who are tuning in right now, where can we help funnel them, Matt?
Oh, well, I have a LinkedIn page, and we have websites. There's arcadiancap.com, mattnordgren.com. And LinkedIn, but LinkedIn's a great way to get in touch, and would love to hear from folks. Matt, thanks for all you do. Education is the key, out there, and just being able to, be here with you. And I've seen and listened to things you've done in the past. Education is key in any, for anybody in terms of gaining power. Knowledge is power. So thanks for what you do, Matt. And anybody who wants to reach out on LinkedIn and other websites.
Well, now I'm blushing, but thank you so much, Matt. It's been a pleasure having you. You guys, please check out his company, check out his website, and he's doing great things. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Matt Balaker podcast. To learn more, please check out mattbalaker.com and encourage your friends to like, subscribe, and share. Really appreciate it.